think this is where we got to, right? Last slide you should have had. Bellawood, we got you, Bellawood. Yeah, okay. So, Abby, you weren't here. World War I. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, picking up where we left off. United States is now reaching the point where we are contributing soldiers to the fight in Europe. The way we are doing this is that we are sending troops over piecemeal, and that they are being integrated into existing battalions. We're going to learn from our lesson this war and the next war, World War II, that that's not something we want to do. So, as we continue to improve our standing with our manpower on the European continent, Germany is growing increasingly desperate. There is a general named Erich Ludendorff, German general, who is pretty much the remaining commander of the German military on the Western Front, who's going to launch one final last-ditch assault to try to knock France out of the war. Knock France out of the war, deny to the Allies a position on a foothold, a toehold on the European continent to fight a war. Right? This is something Hitler's going to do right away in World War II. That is to concentrate all his forces on France, knock them out to make it difficult for the Allies to stage a landing on the European continent. So this is what happened. Going to launch an assault that is designed to take Paris, and then of course take Paris. French would succeed. This is the second battle of the Marne, and it begins in July of 1980. It starts out as two different battles. There is a mountain called the Rhine Mountain, and German forces are going to split around. On the eastern side, they are going to be contained very quickly by Allied forces. However, on the western side, the Germans are going to be very successful. This is called the Battle of Rhine, R-E-I-N-S, the last line, August 1980, part of the bigger Battle of the Marne. But in this, the Germans are going to be successful in establishing a salient towards Paris, which is kind of like a weak push towards somebody and push into a line. That line is going to give. That line gives, called a salient in military towards Paris. On July 18, 1918, at the Battle of Chateau Thierry, the Allies with the United States forces would fight back. And we would be able to staunch the growth of that salient. It's not going to extend any further into France, but it is still going to exist. Then on July 18th through 22nd, the Battle of Soissons, the United States is going to propose a plan of disinformation for the Germans. If they can convince the Germans that there was a plan, the United States counterattack is going to occur somewhere it wasn't, Germans would then move to that position to counter a counterattack, leaving a line weak where they were really going to attack. And this is what happened. A dead American died of pneumonia is going to be placed in a Jeep that has driven off of a bridge that had a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. Germans come across it, see that this man has, you see somebody handcuffed to a briefcase, something big. They're going to break into his briefcase and find the information about an American counterattack that is going to occur somewhere that we really aren't going to attack. Germans swallow it hook, line, and sinker and reinforce the area where we are supposed to attack. Guess what? We don't attack. As a result, where we do attack at the Battle of Battle of Soissons is going to cause the salient to be cut off. Now, what's important about that is from this point on, Germany is on the defensive. This is their last offensive maneuver. Everything after this is trying to protect Germany. So the next battle we're going to talk about is the last battle that occurs, and that's the Battle of the Argonne. And this is the Battle of the Argonne Forest. It's a very heavily wooded area. Very heavily wooded. And it lasts from September 26th to November 11th. The Argonne is on the French and German border. That's where we've been pushed back. We've been pushed back to what is called the Hindenburg Line, the German line of their nation's defense. At the Battle of the Argonne, the United States is going to participate as one unit. The American Expeditionary Force, the AEF, is going to fight as its own unit. And in this battle, we are going to experience the worst casualties ever experienced in battle in the United States history. We're going to lose 120,000 soldiers in this battle. Now, as the Germans are pushed back to the Hindenburg Line, they fall back into their trenches. It makes it more difficult to fight. Then they are able to protect, or they are protected by the defensive fortifications of this Hindenburg Line. About the same time that this is occurring, on October 29th, 1918, the German Navy is going to mutiny. The mutiny is when they rebel, the sailors rebel against their officers. The entire German Navy does it. What happened is they had been influenced by Marxists, and they were on board the ship. What was happening as the war went on is they saw their friends and fellow sailors dying for this cause. They did not have the weaponry they needed. They did not have the food they needed. They did not have the clothing they needed to wage this war. However, they see what is going on. Kaiser Wilhelm II, monarch, living a very lush lifestyle, very luxurious, very wasteful. As a result, they decide they're not going to give their lives for such a regime, and they mutiny. When they mutiny, this would spread to the rest of the German public, and it would eventually cause Kaiser Wilhelm II to abdicate his throne. So the German nation, monarchy, would be defeated. Well, it wouldn't be defeated, it would be overthrown. Now, this leads us to armistice. Armistice is not a victory. Armistice is the putting down of weapons. Right? Neither side is going to admit that they were wrong. They started the war. They're just going to say, we are done. We're putting our guns down. Ever since the start of World War I, diplomacy had been working diplomats have been working to try to negotiate a peaceful end to this war. Before the United States entered, President Wilson dispatched his good friend, political confidant, political manager, Colonel Edward House, a Texan, to go over and meet with the German delegation to try to find a way to secure peace. Eventually, that comes on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, which we know today as Veterans Day, and it is Armistice Day, which World War I comes to an end. Now, interesting how this happens, because this is very important. History is built on a foundation, but heard before. We are laying the foundation for World War II at this exact moment. There's going to be some petty stuff that happens leads to World War II. And the armistice is going to be signed in a train car, a very luxurious train car in France. Germany agrees with the Allies to put down their weapons. War comes to an end. 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. Put a pin in that, and we'll come back to it in about 3 weeks. Now, because the United States used the material, and provided manpower to kind of bring the Allies to this point that they are winning. No, I don't say. Well, they have put Germany on the defense. The United States is looked at as kind of being the savior of Europe. As a result, Woodrow Wilson is going to go over to Europe, take part in the treaty-making process that is going to end the war between the Central and the Allied powers. When he goes over there, he is received as if he is single-handedly responsible for ending the war. As a result, for somebody who's OCD and has got a little bit of an ego complex, this is going to give him an even bigger head. And as a result, he's going to have this crazy idea that he personally ended the war. All right? So what happened is he had come up with the plan of how to end the war and to prevent wars from occurring again. He called it his 14 points. Now, the 14 points are very big. You know, there's a lot of stuff to them. I just put this up here so I can read them to you. You do not have to write them down. The major ones we're going to talk about. But you have the abolition of secret diplomacy by adoption of open agreements, openly arrived at, basically, in order to, what he's saying is for this treaty, we're not going to have outside agreements, we're not going to have secret agreements. Freedom of seas in peace and war, removal of international trade barriers, the adjustment of colonial claims, evacuation of German troops from Russian territory, evacuation of German troops from Belgium, evacuation and restoration by Germany of French territory, readjustment of the frontiers of Italy, opportunity of autonomous development for the people of Austria-Hungary. Basically, the Austria-Hungary empire is going to collapse. It's going to be carved up. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Evacuation of the Central Powers of Serbia, Montenegro, Romania, and the Balkan states. Internationalization of the Dardanelles, which is right port that goes from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. And self-determination, non-church. We'll talk more about that in a second. And independent Poland, access to the sea, and the establishment of the General Association of Nations for mutual guarantee of political independence and territorial integrity to large and small nations alike. So he shows up at Versailles, and he's like, yeah, hey, here I am, look at me, I'm the guy that won this war. You guys, because I'm saying this. Okay. Now, did we do something? Yes, we did. Did we do anything to the extent of what England or France did? No. They fought the war for 4 years. Came in 1917. We really got over there in 1918, and the war comes to an end. But it comes without a victor. Now, so the Paris Peace Conference is actually held at the Treaty of Versailles. It's actually held at Versailles, the Castle of Versailles. It's called the Treaty of Versailles. But it is results of the Paris Peace Conference. Now, if you are going to have a treaty, what is a treaty? An agreement, right? Negotiation resulting in an agreement between at least two nations. An agreement of two. Okay. So what happens is if you're going to have a treaty ending a world war, who should be there? Who should be there? World that was involved in it, right? So you should have who? Right. Well, you should have like England and France, right? The United States. Who else? Yeah, Germany should be there. I think Germany should be there. Germany wasn't invited. They didn't invite Germany, and what happens is they treat Germany as the loser, right? So they treat Germany as a loser. Did Germany lose? Was Germany losing when the war came to an end? No, they were on the defensive. They were on the defensive. That's not. I mean, at halftime, if a football game is 7-7, and the other team has the ball, and the Aggies are on defense, on defense, are they losing? Are they? No, it's just the way it's going. Okay. So I say, yeah. This is the Johnny football era. This is the Aggies are on the field. The era of the Aggies are on the field. They're losing. That era is gone. Okay. So Germany is going to be punished. So they are going to lose all of their colonies. They're not going to be allowed to have any of their colonies that they had held in Africa, in Europe. Lose all of them. Everything west of the Rhine River, which is right here in Germany, on the western border, is going to be demilitarized. Nothing, no military vehicles, weaponry, what have you, can be in that area. They are only allowed enough military to police their nation. So around 30,000 men. That's all they are allowed to have. And the reparation they're going to order to pay in 2014 numbers is the equivalent of $393 billion. Okay? So, did they lose? Kind of looks like it, don't you think? They're treated that way. But the problem is, because they are so heavy-handed with treating Germany this way, that their goal was to crush Germany and to crush them in such a way that they could not ever recover from what this lays on them. But there's always a way to recover. And this is what they chose not to do. What happens here is there's always a way to jumpstart your economy. There's always a way. You know what it is? How do you jumpstart your economy? War. All it will take is war, and boom, because all of a sudden you need these things. And you need these things because going to war, and you end up war, which spurs demand, which spurs an increase in supply, and supply and demand are on the rise. What else happens? Work, generate income, spend that income. What happens? Okay. Is it artificial? Absolutely. But what happens? It starts changing. Now, last part, I forgot to tell you. When Wilson shows up with his 14 points, he really ticks off the French team. Like, here's my 14 points. This is the one. Blah, blah. Georges Clemenceau, who is the French president, states, I am sick of Wilson. He tires me. Why, God himself only needed 10 points. But Wilson needed 4 more than. He had 14 points. But you see, that first part is that, hey, we're not going to have any of these secret negotiations. Well, Europe, the way you fight wars is you take land. So you fight this war, you take the land, and then you either harvest its natural resources to recoup losses or what have you. But you do that. That's what you do. So Wilson shows up and says, no, we're not going to do this because I'm Woodrow Wilson. They say, whatever. So the final part of the 14 points is this League Covenant that says that we will create basically an international organization that will be a diplomatic body that will enforce or will keep peace. Create the League of Nations, which is a forerunner to the United Nations, but it has a very substantial flaw to keep us from ratifying the Treaty of Versailles. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the League Covenant creates a League of Nations that would be over, not like a one world government. A lot of people freak out about it, but it's just a over kind of, the League of Nations. A group of guys who come together and try to do diplomacy to hash out the problem instead. Now, with a lot of the land land that is just vacated or is just lost from Germany and then the collapse of the Hungarian Empire, a lot of new states. Now, when I say state, what those change there? I got to remember to change this to European terminology. What's the difference between a nation and a state in Europe? A nation is a people group. Okay? German people considered a nation. All right? If we were to say Hispanics, they would consider their own nation. African Americans would consider their own nation. Culture, society. Okay? So what happens is over in Europe, you're going to have a lot of these people groups, these nations, that had been conquered by Germany or Austria or Russia, what have you, that are going to be split apart. There's going to be bone contention for 20 years. So what we have is we have the creation of Poland for the Polish speakers, the Polish, and it's between Russia and Germany. Okay? Next is we have the creation of Yugoslavia, which is right here, which at first you'd be like, whoa, isn't that when World War I broke out? You had the Croats, the Serbs, the Bosnians, the Catholics, the Muslims, and the Orthodox Christians that all hated each other and fighting each other? Yeah, that is that area. And you're going to create a new nation that's taking all those people and kind of shoving them all into one group and saying you're going to get along? Yeah, they are. Well, how's that going to work out? Surprisingly well. Surprisingly well. A guy by the name of Joseph Tito. Don't worry about it. My master is going to basically rule it with his own brand of communism until dies in like 70s, and then it finally collapses in the 90s. But it lasts really long. But it works, weirdly enough. And then they create Czechoslovakia, which is a little bit of a group of Czech created with Poland and Germany. Austria is going to be really kind of small compared to the map over there. Austria used to be this big, right? And now it's just oh. And, how many guys? I do it every year. Yeah. Christmas thing. Watch the Sound of Music. Watch the Sound of Music. Not to carry whatever. But
it's on every year around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and it's good to watch. But what's the whole premise about it? The whole premise is that once Hitler comes in, he takes over Austria, which we'll talk about, but basically, see that you're the same language. Get there. So, and then down here, is the Ottoman Empire. We talked about that. The Ottoman Empire has been around since the Crusades. But in World War I, they're considered the old man of Europe. They're considered to be a dying nation. And they had been dying for hundreds of years. The stress of World War I just pretty much destroyed them. So what happened is the Paris Peace Conference decides, what are we going to do here? What they decide is to establish a new nation called Turkey for the Turkish people, right? So it's created. So what happens is the president signs this bill, this treaty, and then does that make it go into effect? What happens in order for a treaty to be for the United States to abide by a treaty? What has to happen? It goes to the Senate, and the Senate must ratify it by a 2/3 vote. So Wilson goes over to Europe And when he's over in Europe, everybody thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he gets this big head, and everybody's treated with deference. He comes over to the United States, comes back to the United States, he's got the treaty of Versailles. He's like, yeah, I went over there and signed this bad boy. You'd rather think. So what happened is while he was gone negotiating this, there was a midterm election in which the Democrats were kicked out of the Senate and the Republicans took majority control of the Senate. And all of a sudden they're like, no, we don't like this thing. Not like the Treaty of Versailles, because if you look at Article 10 of the League Covenant, it says that if another nation attacks a League member, the United States will declare war on that nation. Follow? Okay? Does that sound familiar? You know what it sounds like to me? What?
In a line.
It is in a line. But it sounds a lot like. Wait. Right there. It sounds like we're making our own deal. One of these league nations to do what? To declare war. So if some stupid little idiot from Krakalakistan that kills a British person, we're going to go to war over that? Because this league covenant says so? No, that's stupid, we say. And so what happens is we refuse to ratify it. So we will actually continue being at war with Germany until we ratify the Knox Resolution on July 2nd, 1921, 2 years later, saying that war is over. Now, do we actually declare war with them? Do continue warfare? No. The war is over. We're still technically at war. Somebody's shooting, but technically. We never actually signed the League of Nations covenant. We never signed it, never approved the Treaty of Versailles. Probably the reason that one of the reasons, there's many reasons, that the League of Nations is so weak that nobody back up actually enforce it. As we'll see when we get into the next lecture, but basically what the United States is going to do is going to say, hey, war's over, we saved you guys, peace out, go back home. Right? We're isolationists. We don't want to deal with you guys. No, stupid, because have we ever truly been isolationists? The answer is no. Never. All right, so take your pen, draw a line, exam ends here.